Welcome back to another edition of Get Well Acadiana with Dr. Kevin. Thank you so much for joining me on the show today. This is the show designed to improve your health using totally natural solutions. And I appreciate you guys tuning in every week to learn the latest things that you can do to solve your health problems and live a longer life. I'm here with my co-host, producer, and good friend, Brandon Como. Brandon, how are you today?
I'm doing well. How are you enjoying this beautiful weather despite the pollen?
I love it. Yeah, I love it. And last week, the joke about pollen, last week we were talking about allergies.
Mm-hmm.
And what we had said, if you guys missed that show, was that all of the pollen and trees and things that people blame their health on is that it's actually something wrong inside their body, not outside of their body. And you hear people say that, it's that tree over there making me sick.
Yeah. And so we would encourage our listeners, if you missed last week's show, go to our website, kpel965.com. We've got the complete show up there for you. So if you're struggling with, your allergies and you're tired of this annual grind, if you will, and such, make sure you check that out and learn how you can overcome these issues in natural, healthy ways.
Yeah, that's great. We had talked about on that show that people want to blame their health problems on that thing over there. Mm-hmm. It's that tree making me sick. It's that cat. It's that pollen. It's that grass. And that really isn't the case at all. The reason that you're having health problems is almost always something coming from inside your body, not outside your body. So, we had a serious discussion about that last week on not blaming your health problems on that thing over there. But the one thing that we didn't get into the discussion of that is very important is the relationship between allergies and gut health. And gut health is something that we need to take a closer look at because digestive health and chronic allergies are very closely related. And I kind of failed to discuss that last week on the show that I did on allergies, but it needs to be brought up. And we're going to kind of continue that and discuss the relationship between digestive health and not only allergies, but other health problems as well today. And the truth is that gut health is related to almost every other disease or condition out there. It is a physical impossibility to have an unhealthy gut and a healthy person. And when I say gut, I'm not talking about your beer belly. I'm talking about the health of your internal digestive system. Your microbiome is what it's called. That means how healthy is your internal environment inside your digestive tract. So when I say gut health, I don't mean beer belly. I'm talking about the internal relationship between your body and how healthy your inside of your digestive tract is. And I wanted to quote today from an article that I was reading the other day and discuss that with you on the show. Several doctors had contributed to this article, including Dr. Joshua Ziegler, who's a dermatologist at Mount Sinai Hospital in New York City, and Dr. Sarkis Masmanian, who's professor of microbiology at California Institute of Technology, and Dr. Pariska, who's at Johns Hopkins, and he's the head of neurogastroenterology. So I won't bore you with all the names, but just know that these doctors are no slouches. And what they're now starting to catch up and realize is something that I've been talking about for at least the last 6 or 7 years. And that is that the internal environment of your gut is essential to you living a healthy, disease-free life, period. Now, if the most thought that you give your gut, if the most you think about your gut health is how you feel after a big meal, consider this. The health of your gut is where good health begins. Trillions of bacteria and microorganisms in your digestive system, your microbiome, trillions of bacteria communicate with cells throughout your entire body. Your microbiome influences your immune system, your nervous system, and your metabolic system in ways we are just starting to understand. Every time researchers look at this, guys, they are blown away at how intricately important digestive health is to the rest of a person being healthy or not. We used to just think our digestive system just broke our food down and that was it. Like, yeah, I eat food, it gets broken down in my digestive system, and then it's done its job. Nothing could be further from the truth. Every time researchers look at how intricately involved the health of your microbiome is to the rest of your health, they are absolutely blown away. They're now starting to call your microbiome, they're now starting to call that your second brain. There's a complex, sophisticated nervous system called the enteric nervous system that contains more than 100 million nerve cells. And these nerve cells line your GI tract. So your gut and your brain are hardwired together. Many studies had linked changes in this microbiome, the changes in your gut health, to mood disorders like depression and anxiety and all of these other mood disorders. So it's no accident that we have all of these mood disorders and everyone's gut health is a complete disaster. That's not a coincidence. Your microbiome is intricately involved also in skin health. A healthy microbiome helps regulate the balance of bacteria in other parts of your body, including your skin. So when your microbiome becomes unbalanced, it can cause inflammation that affects your entire body, but also especially your skin, which can lead to breakouts. One study found that the vast majority of acne patients had an impaired microbiome. So it's also no accident that teenagers have bad skin and their microbiome is a complete disaster. So we can really address skin problems by making the gut healthier. So if you want healthier looking skin, you need to start by balancing your gut health. And until you do that, your skin will remain unhealthy and broken out, and lots of skin problems we address by first addressing the microbiome. And then the second thing, of course, is the liver. Your liver is the biggest filter of your body, and then your skin is the second. But we look to the microbiome for many of today's health problems. And also they're finding that your microbiome is intricately involved in your immune system function. And all this is in this article. So this is not me saying this, and I've been saying this for a long time, but it's these other doctors are now realizing this as well. But your microbiome is intricately involved in your immune system function. A huge portion of immune system is based in your digestive system. Some doctors say up to 80% of immune function takes place in the gut. And I'm inclined to agree with that number. Your immune system depends on your microbiome to function properly. So microbes that help your gut also help your immune system function. And if your microbiome isn't healthy, your immune system won't be healthy either. And that's what happens when your immune system becomes unhealthy because of your gut health. It becomes overactive. So that's what leads to autoimmune problems. So if you have an unhealthy gut and that causes your immune system to become unhealthy and overactive, now you end up diagnosed with one of the 188 autoimmune diseases that are out there and growing. Autoimmune diseases are becoming more and more of an issue, and it's because we've destroyed our natural microbiome. That's one of the main reasons why we're starting to see this huge increase in autoimmune things. And it even may play a role in arthritis and certain times of, they found that unhealthy bacteria, certain types of those, may trigger an inflammatory response targeting the joints. And it might even keep you a healthy weight as well. Number of studies show there's a difference between a healthy microbiome of people that are obese and a healthy microbiome of people that are a healthy weight. So the bacteria in your digestive tract help break down and extract calories from food. And they're now finding that it also controls appetite regulation, through a hormone called leptin and ghrelin. And so if your leptin and ghrelin are out of balance, then your body will signal weight gain. And all of that deals with an unhealthy microbiome as well. So this is such an important thing that we look into. This article went on and on about the health of our gut and how that's related to almost every disease that they are looking at. And so any comprehensive wellness program needs to start with a healthy microbiome or a healthy gut.
All right, Doc, so I'm curious, what is causing all of these digestive issues that you're alluding to?
So in other words, like what's causing people's microbiome to be so destroyed? Well, there's really several things. Number one is all of the use of antibiotics. These are microorganisms. They're healthy microorganisms. We have to have them in our body in order for our gut lining to be healthy. And everybody out there's heard of probiotics. But what they don't realize is all of these antibiotics out there have destroyed our microbiome. And it's so bad that just taking a few probiotics here and there isn't near enough to solve this problem. And sometimes patients will go, well, doc, I haven't taken antibiotics in years. If you guys have heard me say this on the show, you may not have, but 80% of the antibiotics produced go in farming and cattle and chickens and livestock and not in medicine.
Okay.
So just imagine that all of the antibiotics in medicine in America, add all of those up, that's only 20% of what gets put in our food supply. So if you've eaten chicken, if you've eaten beef, if you've eaten any kind of, animal product in the last week, you've probably taken in antibiotics.
Okay, so let me ask you this, because you brought up probiotics. What would you recommend as far as taking probiotics and how much to take, if in like the pill form, if you will? Because I see the probiotic pill forms and just wonder, okay, with how much people encourage to take them, how much do you recommend that they take in addition to their diet?
So probiotics can be a double-edged sword.
Okay.
One of the things I'm going to talk about later in the show is I'm going to talk about something called leaky gut syndrome.
Yes.
And if you're taking probiotics and your gut is leaking into your bloodstream, you're dumping bacteria straight into your blood tract. So that's not something that you necessarily want to do. Probiotics are great, but they have a time and a place throughout a comprehensive digestive restoration program like ours. So we do use probiotics, but you have to make sure you're ready for them, that the gut is not dumping into the bloodstream.
Yeah.
But also, whenever you do take them, you're probably, no matter how many you're taking, not taking enough. I mean, you have to take many, many, many times the dose to ever be able to repopulate those healthy bacteria in your digestive tract, because there's unhealthy bacteria in there that push away the good ones. It's like a little war going on between the unhealthy yeast and unhealthy microbiomes and the healthy ones, and you have to send enough reinforcements. You have to put enough soldiers in there that they can literally kill and take over all of the bad ones, and that almost never happens.
It just goes to show you how complex the body is. And when you see things that are pushed in advertising, like on TV and such, it kind of makes things like probiotics seem like almost a cure-all, but in reality, there's a whole lot of other things going on with your body that maybe probiotics, like you just mentioned, is actually counterintuitive, if you will. So yeah, that's what's. I guess that is. I'm sure that's a frustration of many people that are listening right now, that have heard, "Hey, take probiotics," but they don't realize they may be having leaky gut syndrome or something else.
Exactly. So those bacteria are dumping straight into where they're not supposed to go. So we do use probiotics, but there's a time and a place, and that's why this is a complicated thing. Your digestive tract is a very complicated system, and especially when there's problems with it. So you really need to know what you're doing. You really need to do something like our digestive health program, where we step by step walk through all of the different issues that could be going on, because not only are antibiotics destroying our microbiome, but our food is void of enzymes. We have people stressed out. They're not sleeping well. They're in fight or flight all the time, which we're going to get into all of those things on the show today. So don't go away. We're going to be right back after this short break, and we'll discuss why the microbiome is unhealthy and what you can do to solve it. Welcome back to Get Well Acadiana with Dr. Kevin. Thank you so much for joining me today. In that first segment, we were discussing an article on gut health. And I was trying to prove a point that all of these famous researchers out there at Mount Sinai and all these other big research places are starting to come to the realization of something that I've been saying for years now, is that the health of your microbiome, your gut health, is critically important to every other system in your body. And any wellness program needs to begin by looking at gut health. And if you overlook that, you're missing a big factor in restoring someone's health. But the truth is, our digestive systems in America are a complete mess. There are 60 to 70 million people affected with some sort of a digestive problem. And the truth is, it's way more than that. If you add up all the folks that carry Tums in their pocket or suffer and don't seek help, those millions, that 60 to 70 million, that's just the people that have actually sought care. That's not the ones that are going on suffering and not doing anything about it. If you add up the people that carry Tums, or that, carry Rolaids in their pockets, or just maybe they change their diet and just sort of suffer through it, that's millions and millions of more. But there's 21 million hospitalizations every year for digestive issues, costing over $200 billion. Guys, we could save this healthcare system in America billions and billions of dollars, possibly more than that, if we would just get the gut and the microbiome healthy. The Crohn's disease, the ulcerative colitis, the IBS, pancreatitis, peptic ulcers, chronic constipation, diverticulitis. I mean, I could go on and on. Our digestive systems are a complete disaster, and the rates are increasing every single year. Our digestive health is rapidly worsening, and people are getting sicker and sicker. And the thing that people don't understand is that if you have an unhealthy digestive tract and you need to pop Tums or Rolaids, that's not all that's going on. There could be a lot more going on under the surface that's causing other areas of your body to be sick as well. Our digestive health is integral to the rest of our health. And our Digestive Solutions program is second to none. We have to figure out the underlying reasons that almost all of these digestive issues are occurring in the first place. And the way that we've been looking at digestive health in traditional medicine in America for the last, 50 years is really 180 degrees backwards of what they're now starting to realize. That our digestive system does more than just break down our food. 80% of immunity takes place in the gut. Hormones that control depression and anxiety, like serotonin, are made in the gut. Thyroid hormone is activated in the gut. So, as you're going to see today, our digestive system is intricately involved in many other systems. And it's just not possible to have an unhealthy gut and a healthy person. Now, why is this happening? Well, one of the problems is that our digestive system is where we get our energy. So when you eat food, you're supposed to digest that food, and then your body makes energy from that digested food. And the truth is, ladies and gentlemen, we're energetic beings. Our body must have a never-ending supply of energy, just like your car should have a never-ending supply of gasoline. So you can have the nicest, most expensive car in the world, but without gas, it doesn't go anywhere. It's a paperweight. And just like without energy, your body cannot heal and cannot be healthy and cannot feel good and function normally. To go from one level of health to the next, you have to have energy. You could be at the best clinic in the world, doing the best treatment in the world. And if you don't have the raw energy to go from one level of health up to the next, it's just not going to happen for you no matter what you do. And listen, when I say energy, I don't mean it like this weird kind of metaphorical hippie kind of way of talking about energy. Your body makes an energy packet called ATP. It stands for adenosine triphosphate. That's what your cells burn for fuel. So your body must be able to make more energy than it needs every day or that it's using. It's like a bank account. You have to deposit more in it than you're spending out of it. And as long as you do that, your bank account's healthy. But when you start writing more checks and spending more money than what you have in that account, you're in deficit spending. And this is what's happening with people's energy. So many patients we check are spending more energy than their body is needing. So they require more energy than their body is able to make. And many patients are running on this, what we call energy deficit. And you know what? One of the first solutions for that is to get them making more energy. And the way you get them making more energy is digesting their food better. So we're back to gut health again. And as long as you're making more energy than you're spending, then you're good. Life is great. Your body's in balance and you're healing and functioning normally and you're fine. But if you start using up more energy than you're making and you're in this energetic debt, that's when chronic illness and disease sets in. You know, people ask me all the time, well, doc, why did I get cancer at 50? I've been healthy my whole life. Or why did I get diabetes at 45? Or why did I get thyroid problems after my pregnancy? Why is this happening? The moment that your body reaches in to get some energy, to get some reserve energy, and the tank is empty, there's no energy left for your body to pull from, the account has been drained, the debt will begin to grow. Your energetic debt begins to build up and get larger and larger. Many of you out there have been living this way for years, running on this energy deficit every day, barely getting by. What happens one day, your body will cross this line and your brain looks up and says, we've got a real problem. We're now in crisis mode. The entire signaling process of your body begins to change. And now you are in real trouble because you cannot be in crisis mode and healing mode at the same time. When your body is constantly in this crisis, barely getting by, I'm trying to reserve as much energy and barely struggle through, you cannot be in thriving healing mode whenever you're going through that. An energetic debt puts you in this crisis survival mode. So it's a physical impossibility to be in this crisis mode and healing mode, and we have to figure out how to get you from one to the other. And our digestive systems are where energy is made. We have to begin to rebuild our digestive systems from the ground up. And that's basically what our program does. We start and rebuild the system the way that it was designed to work. You know, we talked about probiotics. Probiotics are okay, but you have to do them after you restore the gut lining or you're dumping raw bacteria into the bloodstream. So, you have to know what you're doing with this. Our digestive restoration program should be part of any comprehensive wellness strategy because the gut is so intricately involved in every other aspect of our health. So out of all those digestive conditions that I listed earlier, I think I listed 15 or 20 of them. Almost all of those digestive symptoms and diseases come from three underlying problems. And they are low stomach acid, unrecognized food sensitivities, and leaky gut syndrome. I don't care if it's Crohn's, irritable bowel syndrome, acid reflux, or hiatal hernia. Almost all digestive and health issues come from one of those three underlying problems. And it may be one or all three of those. And we're going to break all of that down right after this break. But if you're interested in seeing if my methods might be able to help you feel better and live a healthier life, all you have to do is call my office at 837-7174 and leave your name and number on the machine, and I will personally call you back Monday when I get to the office to see if there's anything I think that I can do or if I think my methods might be able to help you. And if I don't think I can, I won't waste your time. That's 837-7174. Stay tuned because right after this break, I'm going to lay out the three underlying reasons for almost all digestive problems. So don't go away. Welcome back to Get Well Acadiana with Dr. Kevin. Now, before break, I mentioned that almost every digestive issue can be boiled down to three underlying problems. So, what I'm saying is, no matter what digestive issue you've been told you have, if you trace that digestive problem further upstream beyond labels, we find that it's almost always one of these three underlying problems. Number one is low stomach acid. Number two is unrecognized food sensitivities. And number three is leaky gut syndrome. Now, first, I'm going to address the issue of stomach acid. So many people these days take Nexium or Prilosec or carries Tums in their pocket. And that's because they have too much stomach acid, right? According to traditional thinking for the last, 50 years, we have either normal stomach acid or too much stomach acid, and that's the only two options. And if you have acid reflux or ulcers or stomach problems, you need to take these pump inhibitors like Nexium or Prilosec, which, by the way, are some of the top selling drugs in America. I think they're the top two or three. So your stomach acid is bubbling up in your esophagus, right? Like that makes sense. Now, hold on a second. Let's think this through. Let's go through how your body actually functions. So I know you guys have heard people say that stress causes them to have to take Tums, like stress causes their acid reflux. We've all heard that before. The theory for 30 or 40 years has been that people have too much stomach acid and stress causes them to need Tums or Nexium. That's not actually possible. The stress response in the body is something that we call fight or flight. When your body goes into fight or flight stress response, one of the first things it does is shut down the body's acid pumps. It shuts down acid production. The stress response in the body is to lower stomach acid and stop digestion. Now, almost all Americans are stuck in what we call sympathetic fight or flight response, which basically means that Americans are stuck in this almost being chased by a predator response because they're go, go, go all the time. You have the traffic and the bills and the boss and the kids and all this stuff that stresses us out. And I think it's pretty common knowledge by almost every healthcare practitioner that Americans are stuck in too much stress response. Now, if 87% of the patients that we test are stuck in this stress response, why is it then that we need pump inhibitors? The body's response to stress is to shut down digestion. Then why is Nexium the second highest selling drug on the planet? If an animal is being chased by a predator, their body goes into this emergency response called fight or flight, and humans do the same thing. And you're either in crisis fight or flight mode, which means no digestion, no stomach acid, or you're in what we call calm, resting, digesting, relaxing mode with adequate stomach acid and digestion. So the point that I'm trying to prove here is that you may not have too much stomach acid. You may have too little. Your acid pumps may have shut down. Well, where's all the acid reflux coming from then? What they're now finding is when you eat food, let's say that you're eating food while you're stuck in traffic, talking to your boss on the speakerphone, worried about your kids doing poorly in school and stressing about your bills and, the things that we almost all do every day. And you're eating food at the same time. And when you swallow that food, this stress response has caused your stomach acid to shut down. So the food sits there and you get what we call food rot, which means basically that food does not get digested, so it sits there and ferments very quickly. And when that food ferments, it gives off its own organic acids from the actual food itself. An example of this, if you guys ever thrown food in a garbage can, or maybe you've left a bag of vegetables in the refrigerator too long and they've turned kind of brown and there's a like liquid in the bottom of it in the bag, that's organic acids. Or if you throw food in the garbage can and you go out there a few days later and there's liquid around it, that's the organic acids from the food itself. And I'm telling you today that acid reflux that you feel very may likely be from the organic acids from the undigested food because of your lack of stomach acid, not from too much stomach acid. So then what happens when you take Nexium or Prilosec? Well, basically what that does is it just moves that undigested food further down the digestive tract. It just sort of pushes it through. So then you end up with undigested food moving through your digestive system, which further destroys the digestive system down the line. It further creates an unhealthy microbiome further down the line, like IBS or Crohn's or colitis or any of these other colon and digestive problems. Now, here's the really cool part of all of this. There's a simple little test that I can give you. It's non-invasive, literally takes 7 minutes, that you can do to see if you have too much stomach acid or if you have too little stomach acid. And it's a simple little test that we can do, and it's pretty well definitive if you have low stomach acid. And a vast majority of the patients that we test actually do have low stomach acid, not high. Now, what makes this even worse is that when you take that undigested food and you run it through a gut that's leaking, that's a recipe for a real disaster. And that's what we have in America, a digestive crisis. And I'm going to get more into the leaky gut side of it when we get back from this next break. But if these things sound like something you think might be able to help you and you want to talk to me about it, call my office at 837-7174. Just leave your name and number on my machine. I'll give you a call back Monday when I get to work to see if I think I can help you or not. And if I don't think I can, I won't waste your time. 837-7174, Leaky Gut, right after this next break, so don't go away. Welcome back to Get Well Acadiana with Dr. Kevin. We're discussing digestive problems, and so far, we've proven that, number one, America has a digestive crisis, and number two, your digestive health, your microbiome is intricately connected to the rest of your health, to your brain health, to your heart health, to inflammatory conditions, to almost every other part of your health. And then the third thing that we've proven is that Americans have low stomach acid, not high stomach acid. So now what happens when you push that undigested food further into the colon, and especially if the patient has leaky gut syndrome? The standard American diet is the perfect prescription to give someone leaky gut syndrome. So what is that? Well, there's supposed to be a barrier between your digestive system and your blood system. Because you see, the way this is supposed to work is whenever you swallow food, it's supposed to be protected from getting into your bloodstream through a barrier. There's supposed to be a lining between your digestive tract and your blood tract that keeps out things that don't belong in your blood system. So the food that we eat is supposed to stay in our digestive tract until it's fully broken down to its smallest components. Meaning, if I swallow a bite of chicken, that chicken is broken all the way down into its smallest components called amino acids. And then those amino acids trickle through that barrier into my bloodstream to be used to make energy, to make ATP. If I swallow a piece of broccoli, that's supposed to be broken all the way down to its smallest carbohydrates and simple sugars and passed into our bloodstream to be used to make energy. So our digestive tract lining is a barrier between what doesn't belong in our bloodstream and our bloodstream. It's like a coffee filter. It lets the coffee through and keeps the grounds out. In leaky gut syndrome, it would be like there's holes, the filter's ripped, and the grinds are getting into your coffee. Nobody likes that. And it's even worse when we're talking about the gut lining. Leaky gut means that the lining of your digestive tract has been damaged. And that has created holes or tears or pores through the gut lining that are too large. And these holes in your gut cause your food to get through and into your bloodstream early. Instead of our food being completely broken down into its smallest components, amino acids and simple carbohydrates, that's supposed to be filtered through before it gets into our blood. Those food particles get through early. So instead of having amino acids from our chicken into our blood, we have a piece of chicken floating around in our bloodstream. Instead of having broccoli broken all the way down to its simplest carbohydrates, we have a chunk of broccoli floating around in our bloodstream. Our bodies cannot recognize this. There is no mechanism to turn a piece of broccoli into energy. So we further lose our energy going further into this energy deficit. But the other problem is your body can't recognize this piece of broccoli and this piece of chicken as something that's supposed to be there. So you get a systemic immune system reaction. The body's immune system goes into overdrive and sends immune system killer cells and inflammatory response to go destroy this piece of food. That food never gets digested and turned into energy. It never gets digested and used for nutrients. The body has to use these killer cells to go destroy and carry that food away. This is a major energy drainer. It's basically like if I came up to you and I put a hypodermic needle in your vein and injected chicken particles directly into your bloodstream. Imagine that. Every time you eat, you're ending up creating this huge inflammatory response. This can make your immune system get madder and madder and madder until your immune system starts to attack its own cells, and that's what we call autoimmune conditions. Autoimmune diseases are rising at an unprecedented rate. Hashimoto's disease, rheumatoid arthritis, MS, Crohn's, a major increase in these autoimmune diseases. And many times it's this inflammatory reaction in the digestive system that's contributing to that. This is a huge problem for Americans. One major cause of leaky gut syndrome is the herbicide Roundup. Oh, before we move on, Brandon, this is what I was saying about probiotics, is if you have these tears or these holes in your digestive tract and you're taking probiotics every day, you're dumping raw bacteria into your bloodstream, and probiotics are good, but they need to stay on the other side of that barrier. So if you've got raw bacteria you're dumping into your bloodstream, your immune system has to go kill those bacteria. Even though they're good microorganisms, they're supposed to stay in your digestive tract, not get in your bloodstream. So, probiotics have a place, but you have to heal the leaky gut first. Now, one major cause of this leaky gut syndrome is the herbicide Roundup. Roundup is now in everything. Yes, I'm talking about the one you spray around your fence and you spray down your driveway, and the farmers spray in their fields, and it's in our water supply, it's in our food, it's in every vegetable you've eaten this week, it's in every meat that you've eaten this week. Roundup has now gotten in every food almost. It's even in some of the organic foods that I eat in trace amounts. They find it in everything they test. It's so widely used now. And by the way, South Louisiana is one of the highest concentrations in the world of Roundup. You can look at a chart of America on, light pink to dark red of the highest concentrations of Roundup. And our area is the darkest red on the map. I mean, we have the highest concentrations in the world of this herbicide Roundup. It rips holes in our digestive system lining, causing leaky gut syndrome. Another thing that causes leaky gut are these NSAID drugs, these Tylenols, Advils, aspirins, these kind of things. This also rips through our gut lining, and many other things do as well. But the gut is a huge battlefront for the fight for health. It is a huge battlefront that we begin with when it comes to trying to solve health problems in patients that have been told there's no hope, or they just can't figure out what's wrong with them, or they have one health problem after another. They feel like their health is just falling apart. And then the last thing I wanted to talk about is unrecognized food sensitivities. This also is creating a very unhealthy microbiome. Unrecognized food sensitivities means that you may have a particular food that your body sees as abnormal. meaning you may have an intolerance to corn. So when you eat corn, your immune system goes and attacks that every time that you eat it. If you have an unrecognized food sensitivity, that means that your body sees that food as something that doesn't belong there, almost like a food allergy, but it's a little bit of a different response. Now, why would this be happening? Well, the truth is that food sensitivities are so common because our food's not what it used to be. We now have all these genetically modified, Roundup ready Franken foods, I call them, and we're not actually even eating what grandma used to eat. We're not eating wheat anymore. We're not eating soybeans anymore. What they've done is they've taken a wheat plant, and I talked about this last week, and they've spliced a virus on one end of it, and they've spliced a bacteria on the other end of the genetic structure of a wheat plant, is the way we think they did this. Of course, it's a trade secret, but that's what we think they did. So that you can spray more Roundup on it and it won't kill it. So we're eating part wheat, part bacteria, part virus loaded with Roundup because it makes a beautiful plant. And no wonder we have all of these food allergies and sensitivities, and the numbers of those are growing through the roof. Well, we can now test you for these unrecognized food sensitivities. We can test anyone, children, grandchildren, anyone for these food sensitivities. And it's very simple. We send off to the lab a record of your blood, and they send us back a chart that shows 96 different food items that you may have unrecognized food sensitivities to. And it comes with a 1, 2, and a 3. A 1 is mild, a 2 is moderate, and a 3 is severe. And this is one of the main causes of digestive issues and also inflammatory responses in the body. It's also one of the things we see causing sinus and allergy problems, like I discussed last week on last week's show, is these unrecognized food sensitivities. This is such a huge problem. We find these in almost every patient that we test. They have something that their body is intolerant to. But the neat thing is now we can test to see exactly what that is. And we can solve many of these complex disorders. We used to have to kind of guess. We'd say, well, the top 5 are really dairy, soy, corn, wheat, and gluten. And we would try to eliminate those to see how the patient does. But now we can actually test those and know exactly what your body is intolerant to. If you like what you've heard today and you want to talk to me about your particular health problems, I'd be happy to call you back when I get to the office Monday and have a phone conversation with you to see if I think my methods might be able to help you. And if I ever don't feel like I can help you, I won't waste your time, but ask yourself, are you healthier than you were 2 years ago? Is your health headed in the right direction? If not, we need to talk, because once your health is lost, it becomes many times very difficult, if not impossible, to bring that back. It's very important that we use a common sense, proven strategy to turn it around. And that's what I do every day. I live for this stuff. I'm one of those that reads these research for fun. And, as boring as it is, you have to stay on the cutting edge of natural solutions. So you can call my office at 837-7174 and leave your name and number on the machine. And when I get to work Monday, I will call and talk to you a little bit about if I think my methods might be able to help solve whatever health problem that you're having. The office number was 837-7174. You're listening to Get Well Acadiana with Dr. Kevin. That number again was 837-7174. Thank you all for listening. Have a good weekend.